Joining me today is James Ma, also known as Duck, Michigan's premier Sammis player. This is the first official episode of JV3. The purpose of JV3 is to give the backstory that all these Melee players have is as a result of really just playing this game for like almost a decade. How are you doing today, Duck?
Pretty good.
All right, to start this off, generally it kind of was like, what was life like growing up for you? Like, where are you from? Did you like move a lot and like things like that?
I'm very much an upper middle class uh person. I grew up in West Bloomfield, Michigan. I've been here pretty much all my life. I was in Detroit for a little while, but I was way too young to remember that. Yeah. From from my earliest memory, I've definitely been, pretty much the same social status as I am now.
All right, and growing up, what was your first exposure to games like?
My first exposure to games would probably be Pokemon, I think, for the Game Boy. I think my parents bought me and my brother Game Boys to get us to just stop talking and stop being loud, like on car rides. Because we definitely drove all the way to Canada to get Game Boys, which is very interesting, at least to my memory.
Mhm.
Oh, I also just remembered that one of my mom's friends, uh, in Chinese, I guess her nickname was Nintendo Aunt. She had a lot of really old game systems, and every time we would go to her house, me and like my group of, like the group of people that I grew up with,
Hmm.
we would go down to her basement and we would play.
And when you were younger, did you play anything competitively? Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be video games with like sports. Was there anything that you did for competition?
I've pretty much competed in something almost my entire life, with the exception of like high school.
Hmm.
It started with soccer and swimming, and then piano and violin.
Hmm.
In middle school, I actually played a game called Raytheon. It was very, very old. I don't think anybody plays it in North America anymore. But that was like uh, my first real introduction to competitive gaming, because like I joined like a random clan of people. I didn't know who they were, but they're like, "Hey, you're pretty good. Do you want to play with us in this tournament?"
Hmm.
So it was free, but my clan leader bought me like $15 worth of like cash items because I did well. And it was at that point where I was like, "Holy shit, I just made money from playing a video game." Some random dude just gave me $15 because I was good. That's so sick.
And do you feel like these had like kind of an influence into your Smash career? Just like the coming in from like a semi-competitive mindset.
Yeah, for sure. At a young age, I like got over a lot of the things that people struggle with, like raging. I got over that. I got over that in like middle school. A lot of people don't really have to deal with that until like high school or college, at least in terms of video games. Like
Hmm.
I got over that really quickly. I learned like broken strats. I learned how to like farming. I learned about like sandbagging.
Hmm.
Just tons and tons of things I learned just because I played video games early on.
And did you used to be a rager, or it's just kind of like it's
Um,
some?
I distinctly remember being a rager sometime in middle school because mostly because of lag. Um, and eventually I just accepted that it was just something outside of my control. I just couldn't really do anything about it. And that like all of the lag that I was facing, they were also facing. So it wasn't like an uneven playing ground. It was just at this moment in this lag, you're slightly better than me.
And moving towards melee, like what was your first exposure to melee? Did you grow up playing it? Like, did you have a
Yeah.
system at home?
I grew up playing it. It was I first started off with 64.
Hmm.
We would do, I think, 20 stock free for alls.
Oh no.
in like a 7-man rotation. I have no idea how my patience lasted that long, because right now being in a 4-man rotation is like a struggle,
Hmm.
and that's with 4 stocks. I can't imagine a 7-man rotation with 20 stocks. I don't even know how we survived that, but yeah, we went from 64 when Melee came out. We got Melee. I played that with all my friends.
Hmm.
Same thing with Brawl. Um, yeah, I actually started competitive Smash dual maining games, Brawl and Melee.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until like 2000, like late 2010 or 11, when actually started seeing real improvement in Melee. And like, I think I got timed out by like a Pikachu once. And I was just like, all right, I'm done with Brawl. I'm definitely gonna stick to Melee.
Hmm. And what was your first real exposure to competitive Smash? Like, how did you find out about it?
I found out about it through one of my good friends, Moose,
Hmm.
who lives in NorCal now.
Yeah.
Um, he he basically learned all of the advanced tech because his friends knew Tech Zero, who was a Sheik legend back in the day. He was like a top 5 player on the East Coast. And Tech Zero is the one that taught me how to crouch cancel down smash as Samus.
I see. And so basically from the start, you kind of just jumped right headfirst into the competitive scene. Or
um, Sort of. I was like a casual tourney goer for a while. Like,
hmm.
I would just go to tournaments. I wouldn't really like play Smash. I would just go to tournaments. I
Hmm.
would go tune out, and then I would leave. Super casual tournament goer.
Hmm.
I
And
think like everybody starts there at some point.
yeah.
So
And when you first started playing, like, who are the people you played with? Like, you mentioned Moose, but are there any people that you also played with when you started?
I played with Moose, Bloody Joker, Juggle Guy, um, Roki Momi, uh, Bilu.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, just a lot of really old school Michigan people.
Hmm. And when did you first really start traveling out of region and really start to take the game seriously?
Um,
Like,
I started taking the game seriously when I made money at a Rob's House tournament.
hmm.
It was held in Juggle Guy's basement. I got third place because the best player got upset by somebody who is like significantly worse than him. The best player
Hmm.
at the time was Velen, who's a puff player. I played Samus. That matchup with Congo Jungle and Mute City and Rainbow Cruise and Pokefloats on is just not it's like not a doable matchup.
Hmm.
It was terrible. He would time me out all the time. It was so bad. But he got upset by this Fox player named Toadster. And so I actually got to winners finals.
Hmm.
I got destroyed by Biggie, this Falcon player. And then in losers semis, Velen beat Toadster, and then
Hmm.
he destroyed me again, like always.
Okay.
But I made money, and that was when I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Hmm.
Maybe I could get pretty good, maybe, and then like I would just follow Juggle Guy because Juggle Guy had the car. He was the only person who could really travel, and so yeah, I just started going with him to Illinois, Chicago. We went to Chicago all the time.
And who were the players in Chicago at the time that you guys played with?
Uh, Kels, who I could never beat ever
Hmm.
at the time. Rat, he's a fellow Samus player. He's the reason I wasn't Orange Samus actually. Because I used to play Orange Samus, and then Rat did too, and so it was like the Midwest as a region is two Samuses. I don't want to be the same color as them,
Yeah.
and so out of respect, I can't play Brown Samus because of Wes.
Hmm.
Can't play Green Samus because of Ive Spaceballs. Can't play Pink Samus because it's the worst color and because of bugs. And then I
Hmm.
couldn't play Orange Samus, and so I got the gravity suit. Uh, and so yeah, there was Rat, there was Kels, there were the R brothers, Madar and
Mm-hmm.
Tamar. Tamar might be better known to some people as Marth One, the holder of many, many records in Break the Targets.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was O'Reilly. There's actually a lot of the same people as now. It's just Chicago as a region sort of stagnated really, really hard.
Okay.
There's Tink who retired, but he's sort of back now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, there was like Dart and O'Reilly. Dart was like not good at the time. Uh, he thought he was amazing, but
And what year was this all in? Like that you won that tournament, like got third place at that tournament.
um, I want to say like 2010
And
because
when
I
did
want to
you?
say it was freshman or sophomore year of college. So
And what year did
2000,
you start playing in? You
I started in '09.
started in '09, so it was
Yeah,
about a year after you're playing. All right.
yeah.
And then you've been traveling a lot this year, and making appearances. Even internationally, going to DreamHack Winter. And how has been managing working a full time job and playing Smash?
So this is a little known fact, but working actually makes traveling for Smash way easier because now you have money, which is, sort of necessary to travel places.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just way, way less work than college. Like in terms of hours that you have to put in, it's
Mm-hmm.
way, way less. Like when I was in college, I would have like an hour between classes.
Mm-hmm.
I would in the Michigan Engineering Library. Uh,
In the video game basement.
yeah, there's a video game archive,
Yeah.
which is the correct term, where you can rent games and you can play them. And its whole purpose is to be like a catalog of video games dating
Mm-hmm.
way, 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 way back. Like they have original Pac-Man, they have just the oldest games
Yeah.
ever. And so we would go there, I would go there and I would play Melee with people for, 30, 40 minutes and then I would just run to my next class and then maybe I would play on weekends or Friday, maybe not, depending on my workload, depending on if I wanted to hang out with people. Just yeah, Smash was there's just less hours in the day
Mm-hmm.
that I could use for Smash. But now that I'm working, I know that it's like 10 hours devoted to like working, driving, eating ish. And then I can use the rest of the time to play Smash, think about Smash, watch videos. And then I have enough money so that I can travel on weekends as long as I can juggle vacation days,
Mm-hmm.
which I think I've done a pretty good job doing. Um, yeah, I've been able to go to almost all the major things this year, and prospectively, the number of major events that I'm going to be missing for the rest of the year, it's not going to be that much. So,
Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's one other thing I wanted to ask you is were you always a Samus main?
uh, so that's a sort of funny story. I was a Samus, Roy, Jigglypuff main. I never played Roy in tournament, thank God. But I really enjoyed playing Roy in friendlies. I would do it all the
Mm-hmm.
time. You can ask Juggle Guy about my Roy. I actually used to have a winning record against him in money matches with Roy against his Falcon, which is great. It was so. Um, but yeah, I never played Roy in tournament, but I did have Puff that I used to pull out in
Mm-hmm.
friendlies because Moose played Falco and Puff has like a pretty easy answer to lasers. You can just jump.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched King's combo video,
Mm-hmm.
which is just a compilation of like the sickest rests I've ever seen. But, it turns out that you can't like it's not that easy. You can't just jump at people and press down B and win. And so I pulled out Puff for one tournament game against Wonder because he beat me game one Mario Samus.
Mm-hmm.
And so I counterpicked him with Puff, and then because I didn't know the rules at the time, he counterpicked me with Marth. And so I lost, and that was the end of my Puff career. But Samus in general, I played Samus casually, She was definitely my number one character for like as a casual,
Mhm.
and she's by far the most fun character for me to play in the game right now. And
Okay.
so I'm gonna keep playing her.
Okay. And then so there was a lot of people you played with in the past, and now you're just mainly playing with what is known as the Michigan Goon Squad. So Prince Abu and KJH. And then what's the story about how you guys all met?
So Prince Abu and Keizu, who
Mm-hmm.
are I guess the original three along with me. We met just sporadically at tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
In case you're wondering, Prince Abu has always been this annoying. Uh, since the start, since the first time I met him to now, he's always been like that. It's not like his personality hasn't changed because like of his fame or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
It has a little bit, but he's literally always been like that, which is sort of incredible to think about. But yeah, I just met him and Keizu at tournaments just randomly a couple times a year.
Huh.
And then when they started traveling with us, we just became friends.
Mm-hmm.
And KJH was the same thing, but his friend group, I guess, was like slightly different. He played with like Vaccine, formerly HIV positive,
Mm-hmm.
Slayer Toki, Warlock Don, like the people from that area.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was just like you play the game with these, you see these people all the time. Eventually, you become friends.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is.
And you guys have all really improved in these last few years together. And what is it about playing with them that has made you guys just all improve so much?
Um, for I think for most of us, it's just because we hate losing. And like we hate the prospect of losing, and
Yeah.
so it's always just like you never want to lose to your friends,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's a pretty big drive like motivator. And also for me, I always think of things in terms of steps because like lofty goals generally aren't reached.
Mm-hmm.
Like the person that built the airplane didn't set out to build the airplane. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there's a lot of small steps that he took to reach it, and so I've had like small goals throughout my entire Smash career,
Mm-hmm.
and I've reached all of them. So here's to the next one, right?
Yeah. And I'm out of curiosity, what are some of those goals that you had up until this point?
Um, I wanted to make top 32 at national.
Mm-hmm.
And after Big House 1, where I got fifth, I in my head I was like, "Oh, I'm amazing. Of course I could do this again at a national. These people aren't that much better than me. I watch videos all the time. There's no way they're actually better than me. Look at all the mistakes they're making." And so I went to Apex 2010 or 2012, and I didn't make it out of pools. I lost to Drugged Fox and I don't even remember. I remember I lost to Drug Fox because we were on Yoshi's last game, last stock. I up threw him at like 150, and then I forward aired instead of nared. Then he came down and he back aired me, and I died and I lost.
Mm-hmm.
So that was when I realized that I'm not that good because who is Drug Fox? Like how could I beat like how could I beat like Mango or Beauty King if I'm losing to this guy named Drug Fox? I have no idea who this is. So, like, I was really upset like the entire tournament, but I took that as like a major motivator, and yeah, I kept improving from there. And
Mm-hmm.
after that, a whiles later, I was like, I'm ready to get top 16, and then I'm ready to get top 8,
Mm-hmm.
which I've done twice now.
Yeah.
Um, and currently, I want to make it into the top 15 of the Miam rankings for this year.
Okay. And then In the last year, we've seen you do really well. Like you had high placing at Evo where you got 13th. You got ninth at Big House 5 where you beat Swedish. At EGLX, you beat Leffen and Westballs in losers, eliminating them. How do you feel you currently stand in like the realm of players? Like, how the tiering of players broken into like gods, demigods, and things like that. Where do you feel you stand?
I think I'm in the group of people right below the demigods.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm a pretty solid top 20 at the moment. Definitely not top 15, not with the record that I currently have. But yeah, I think just below the demigods, because the only player of the top six that I've beaten is Leffen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am proud to say that I've taken a game at least one game off all of the gods,
Mm-hmm.
which means that if I'm playing really amazing, I'm pretty confident that I could beat them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not something that always happens. You're very rarely playing at 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like when I took those games from the gods, maybe they were playing at like 60% and not their 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think it's possible for me.
Okay. And what do you think you need to do to break through to like the demigod status? Like, what
Um,
changes do you need to make?
I just have to be better, I guess. I have to be more consistent in
Mm-hmm.
everything. I have to pick up habits faster. Um, yeah, I just have to improve as a player. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just a lot. There's a lot of small optimizations to my neutral and punish game that I've been working on. Uh, but yeah, I just have to be better. That's it's a simple answer, but it's the truest answer. Is if you're losing and not winning, then you just have to be better.
And recently, we've seen what I feel like is like kind of Samus mains on like a small come up. Like at Smash Summit, we had more Samuses than like Marth mains, and but Samus is actually really reflected kind of low on the tier list. And do you think Samus is currently underrated as a
Uh,
character?
no, I think she belongs at ninth,
Mm-hmm.
tied with like Pikachu, I
Mm-hmm.
think. I think she's exactly where she should be. Just given her matchup spread, she loses to everybody above her except for Ices.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't really an argument at all for her to be higher.
Mm-hmm.
You could say maybe that she's better than Ices, but I don't think very many people would agree.
Okay.
Given Ices have outperformed Samus since like the beginning
Mm-hmm.
of time.
All right. And speaking about ice climbers, recently we've seen you somewhat struggle a little bit in the matchup, and being in Michigan, there isn't really much practice for you to get versus ice climbers. The best ice climbers in the area being Trail, who is pretty far from you, from what I understand. Um, since you also only really play mostly with like KJH and Abu, how do you guys make up for the matchup practice that you won't get in your own region?
Um, I I theory craft a lot. I think about a lot of situations and I think of solutions. Um, KJH and Prince Abu don't really do that, at least not to the
Mm-hmm.
extent that I do. And you see them both with very, very major matchup flaws. Um, KJH has a better matchup spread just because he plays Vaccine all the time, and Vaccine
Mm-hmm.
is if Vaccine competed, he would be easily top 50 or 40.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays Fox, Marth, Falco, and Sheik all at a high level. And
Uh,
so KJH gets more practice in those matchups than anybody else in Michigan.
mm-hmm.
For me, I just think about a lot of matchups, and I have like a sort of default playstyle for all of those matchups when I see one of those characters in bracket that I don't get to play very often.
Mm-hmm.
And I generally have a really good understanding of that character and like what options beat what. And so I can boil those matchups down to like player versus player pretty quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and that works for me. But I mean, Ice Climbers isn't a character that I've thought about at all
Mm-hmm.
until I got like nine stock by Diz. Um, So I talked to a lot of Samus mains. I watched a lot of videos, and I beat Diz at what's it called? At DreamHack Austin.
Hmm.
And then I lost to Nintendo because I played so bad versus
Hmm.
Nintendo. But yeah, I think I have a pretty good handle on the matchup now. I shouldn't lose that matchup like just out of matchup unfamiliarity anymore.
Hmm.
Like I'll lose the matchup if I'm playing bad or if they're just better than me.
Okay.
Um, but I am really bad at matchups that I haven't like thought about or I don't
Hmm.
have experience with, like Ganon. I suck
Hmm.
against Ganon. I'm terrible, terrible versus Ganon.
Hmm.
Um,
What do you feel your best and worst matchups are?
my worst matchup is probably some random character that nobody plays. Like I'm pretty sure if I played Amsa, he would destroy me, the
Hmm.
Yoshi. Uh, but I'm really good against Puff. I'm really good against Fox, depending on the day.
Okay.
And I guess results wise, I'm pretty good against Falco too.
Okay. And talking about the character Samus again, what are things do you think that Samus players need to be doing to push the character? What are things that like haven't really been labbed yet and really need developing?
Samus players need to, in general, just need to stop being lazy with their punishes. Every time they go for a guess,
Hmm.
like an unnecessary guess, like it's a tech chase situation and they go for a guess. It annoys
Hmm.
me a lot. Because because why?
Hmm.
Like Samus as a character gets so few openings and like really big opportunities to take stocks that if you're going for a guess over a guaranteed hit, there better be a good reason for it. Generally, it's just because they're lazy. Um, Other than that, things Samus has to lab. I can't really think of any because
Hmm.
if I knew, I would do it myself.
Hmm.
So,
And like, what's your current practice techniques? Like, what's your regimen when you're not really playing with, Kalindi and Abu?
um, I generally don't practice by myself very often. If I
Hmm.
do, I'll practice pivots because it's a frame perfect technique.
Hmm.
There's a rhythm to it. If I don't have it down on a certain day, it's just really bad. Because I pivot smashes in neutral.
Hmm.
Um, and so if I'm off, if I don't get the input, it's usually pretty bad. Uh, so I'll practice that. I'll practice aerial interrupts. And then I've been practicing there's a nair where if you go in a teeter and then you input a walk instead of a run, sort of,
Hmm.
you can you can walk over the ledge with no momentum,
Hmm.
and you can go straight down with a nair, and that's the optimal edge guard in a lot of situations. But I can't do it consistently yet,
Hmm.
uh, and so yeah, it's just a couple things, just things that I use all the time that I have to be consistent with.
Okay. And then you talked earlier about how you've always had small goals for yourself and things like that. What are your goals that you would want to accomplish in order to feel that 2016 is a success?
Well, I have a big overall goal, and then I
Hmm.
take steps. The goal is
Yeah.
obviously like everybody else to be the
Yeah.
best. Um, but the steps that I take, at least for 2016, is that I just have to beat people.
Hmm.
Um, and every tournament that I go to is an opportunity for me to beat people. And if I just don't do well, it's usually pretty upsetting. Or if I go and I do exactly how I'm supposed to, like Genesis, right? I got
Hmm.
13th. Um, I beat everybody that I was supposed to, and then I lost to the people I was supposed to lose to. And
Hmm.
I got 13th, which is like it's a fine placing, but
Yeah.
I personally didn't feel very accomplished. I did beat Laudanus the God, the fifth place God.
Hmm.
And he said to me after I beat him that I was going to be the last person to ever beat him in tournament. And then a couple months later, he got fifth at pound. So
Yeah. Yeah, you've had a couple of really good Sheik wins. Like at Big House 2, you beat Swedish, the other god,
the fourth place god.
the fourth place god.
Uh, yeah, I have a winning record against um, basically every Sheik that's not Mewtwo King, Plup, and I guess when Drugged Fox was
Hmm.
Sheik. But yeah, I'd say I'm pretty good at that matchup. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah.
And then, speaking long term, where do you see yourself taking melee? Is this something that you would want to pursue full time if you can, or is this something that you just like to keep a hobby?
I would love to pursue it full time. That's obviously the dream, but
Hmm.
I'm also a very realistic person. Um,
Hmm.
and so given, I guess uh, I guess I wouldn't want to take too big of a hit on my income
Hmm.
to go and play Smash professionally. Being able to put my job on hold to play Smash would be awesome, but I'd also want to be able to like live comfortably and do
Hmm.
what I'm used to doing.
Hmm. And you know, what would it you need to have in order to be like a full time smasher? So it would just be like the monetary, I guess, like equivalents, right? Like a sponsor, streaming, and things like that.
Yeah. I can't see myself pursuing
Hmm.
streaming, at least not with Smash, just because I don't really have that type of personality, I guess. I can't really talk about just like stuff for hours.
Hmm.
Hugo's amazing or Hugs is amazing at it. He has stories on stories on stories. He can talk
Hmm.
about nonsense like multi-tournament conditioning for hours. Um, but yeah, that's not really something I could do. So if I do uh, drop, or I guess put my professional life on hold for Smash,
Hmm.
it would be as a player, maybe a content creator. But yeah, I would getting a sponsor is definitely the first step.
Okay. And that's about it for the questions that I have. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. Is there a Twitch channel people can follow you at?
Yeah, they can follow me on Twitch at SSB Duck,
Hmm.
or also on Twitter at SSB Duck.
Hmm. And you're also going to be streaming later tonight, right? Or
Yeah, probably.
okay. All right. Thanks for joining me. Like he said, you can follow him at SSP Duck. It's in his window under there, and you can follow me at SD Ashkon. I'm going to be opening the stream up to some Q&A, but thanks for joining me today for this interview.
Yeah, no problem.